Hello students, this is me, Saurabh Avasthi, English teacher of Mount Literaji School, Jhansi. Today we are going to study about the fourth chapter of class 11th Hornbill, that is the landscape of the soul. So here in this chapter we are going to study about the different centuries when different artists came to an existence and they taught us the method of looking to the art. So let's begin with the summary of the chapter. 8th century painter Wu Daozi was asked by the Tang Emperor Xuanzong to paint a landscape to decorate a palace wall. The master hid his work behind a screen. Only the emperor could see it. The emperor admired the wonderful scene. He discovered forests, high mountains, waterfalls, clouds floating in the enormous sky, men on hilly paths and birds in flight. Then the painter asked the king respectfully to look in a cave at the foot of the mountain. He said, "A spirit lived there." The painter clapped his hands. The entrance to the cave opened. The painter remarked that the cave was very splendid from inside. He offered to show the way to His Majesty. The painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him. The emperor was astonished. Before he could move or speak a word, the painting had vanished from the wall. Not a sign of Wu Daozi's brush was left. The artist was never seen again, and this was his last painting. So here we can see that such stories plays an important part in China's classical education. These stories help the master to guide their students in the right direction. Actually here this story is all about the another famous Chinese. He would not draw the eye of a dragon he had painted because he was feared that it would fly out of the painting. Such stories played an important part in China's traditional education. The books of Confucius and Zhuangzi are full of them. They help the master to guide his disciple in the right direction. These stories reveal the spirit in which art was considered. The writer then compares these stories to an old story from his own country, Flanders. He finds this story most representative of Western painting. Now, one more part of the story tells us about the 15th century Antwerp, a skilled blacksmith named Quentin Matsys, who fell in love with a painter's daughter. But the father of the girl was not ready to accept him as a son-in-law, the one who was in such a profession of blacksmith. So what actually happened here now? One day Quentin went into the painter's studio secretly, and then he painted a fly on the master's latest painting, which was painted with delicate realism. The painter took it for a real one. He tried to hit it away. Then that painter, who was actually the father of that girl, he realized the matter. He took Quentin as an apprentice. Then Quentin married his beloved. He went on to become one of the most famous painters of his age. So here the above stories from China and Flanders illustrate that each form of art is trying to be achieved. In Europe, the aim is a perfect illusionistic likeness. In Asia, the stress is on the essence of inner life and spirit. So here we can see that in the Chinese story only the artist knows the way within and he reaches his goal beyond material appearance. But where, unlike a Western figurative painting, a classical Chinese landscape does not reproduce an actual view, and one can enter it from any point and travel in it. It requires the active participation of the viewer, both physically and mentally. So, here the author also talks about Chinese philosophy, Shen Shui, which means mountain water. The mountain represents yang, the male principle, and water signifies yin, the female principle. So here, interaction of yin and yang is a fundamental notion of Taoism. And there is a third essential element also, the middle void, where their interaction takes place. This can be compared with the yogic practice of pranayama. Breathe in, retain, and breathe out. The suspension of breath is the void where meditation occurs. The middle void is essential. Nothing can happen without it. Hence, the white unpainted space is very important in Chinese landscape. So here in this story, author have also told us about the fundamental role in this space between heaven and earth. He becomes the medium of communication between both poles of the universe. His essence is essential. He is the eye of the landscape. Here, French painter Jean Dubuffet first created the concept of art brut or raw art in the 1940s. Then the art of the untrained visionary was of minority interest. The outsider art has gradually become the fastest growing area of interest in international modern art. This particular type of work is the creation of those who have no right to be artists, as they have received no formal training, yet they show talent and artistic insight. And here also the author talks about Nekchand's creation. His creation of rock garden at Chandigarh is an expression of art brut. And also the Swiss Commission for UNESCO will be honoring him by way of a 5-month interactive show of his works. Nekchand says that walking through the garden and watching people enjoy his creation is the biggest reward for him. In short, Nekchand has taken outsider art to dizzying heights and richly deserves the worldwide acclaim. So here students, this was the explanation and the summary of the chapter, The Landscape of the Soul. And now we will meet again in the new video with a new chapter. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much.